Hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Hello, I'm Nat Coombs from ESPN's The Nat Coombs Show, which admittedly is 1 out of 10 for original podcast name, but 10 out of 10 for NFL chat. Every week, we're dropping 4 episodes with an all-pro lineup of terrific guests, journalists, comedians, players, coaches, you name it, all getting you up to speed with everything gridiron. The Nat Coombs Show, American football, British accent. Add to your favorites and listen on TuneIn.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and blows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today. Want TuneIn to remind you when the big NFL game is about to get underway? Be sure notifications are allowed on your phone and search NFL on the TuneIn app. In the game you want to hear under events and tap Notify Me. We'll let you know exactly when it's time to listen in for kickoff.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour. But we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. 1% gain for NASDAQ, S&P, Dow also pushing higher. All 3 at records right now. Let's head right over the first word breaking news desk for today's afternoon call. Here he is, Bill Maloney.
And good afternoon, Charlie. That's right. U.S. stocks in the green on this first trading day of the year. Dow's currently up 243 points. S&P's gain 18, while the NASDAQ climbs by 96. The U.S. 10 yield at 1.87%. Gold is trading higher by 11. Small caps drop 4 points, and 6 of the main 11 S&P sectors are also trading higher, led by gains in technology and the industrials. Real estate and utilities led to the downside. Nasdaq Biotech's fall 31 points. Transports gain 23. Semis are up 1.9%, and the VIX is down by 9%. Leaders to the upside in the Dow, Disney, Goldman Sachs, and Apple, while Dow Inc. and Procter & Gamble led to the downside. In other news, AMD rose as much as 7.2%. It traded above the 2000 peak, and Apple is closing in on $300 per share. Wrapping things up, Tesla rose 2.7%. The price target was raised to $515 over at Canaccord. Live from the First to Breaking News Desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Charlie.
All right, we thank you very much, Bill. And to hear live breaking news over your Bloomberg Type Squawk SQUAWK on your terminal. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you, Charlie. And I'm Taylor Riggs here with Jason Kelly, and this is Bloomberg Radio.
A showdown is certainly what it is turning out to be so far. We'll see where it goes next. Let's get into it with Eric Wasson. He is congressional reporter for Bloomberg, joining us from our 99.1 studio in the nation's capital. Eric, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
So what is the state of play here? Because I feel like some of us went away for the holidays knowing that there was a bit of a stalemate, but it seems to only be getting amped up in a way. Give us the latest.
Well, Congress left town on the 19th of December, and there really haven't been any talks since that time on sort of figuring out how the Senate will proceed with this impeachment trial of President Trump. Nancy Pelosi has sort of at the last minute decided to withhold sending the actual documents and withhold naming the managers as the House prosecutors that will appear in the well of the Senate to present the case until she gets more assurances this isn't what she said would be a sham procedure. This is sort of a way of Democrats of spotlighting Mitch McConnell, who has said that he's not going to be impartial and that he's going to coordinate with the White House. But as far as I was able to report out, this is a risky strategy for Pelosi. She can do this for perhaps a week or two, highlight that the Senate is moving along on a track not to have any witnesses or fresh documents. But after that point, there's diminishing returns. And 5 of the Democratic senators are, in fact, running for president. And during any impeachment trial, if it drags into February, they'll be stuck there as silent jurors and be unable to campaign. So that it really can't last that much longer, at least in the minds of people I talk to.
Yeah, and Eric, very good point about Nancy Pelosi, because we all felt like she sort of was even pressured to begin this impeachment stuff to begin with. She had even stated, I believe earlier, that, it probably wasn't a good strategy for the Democrats. And then, under pressure, she went ahead with it. What is the outlook for her then in terms of you can't drag this out more than a few weeks?
Well, House Democrats came to the conclusion, this includes any of the moderates in the swing districts, that they had to basically impeach President Trump. That they felt that there was enough evidence and that there was no way they could not do it. Politically, though, I think Pelosi has her sort of finger on the pulse, and it's proved right in many ways. President Trump's approval rating has not gone down. His core base of support has remained with him. And we don't really see senators who would be needed to defect in order to convict him really moving to do that. We saw some light criticism from Susan Collins, a vulnerable, moderate Maine senator who's up for re-election, criticizing McConnell for saying he wouldn't be impartial. But she didn't really buck his strategy, which is to basically start the trial with presentations and maybe talk about witnesses later.
And so where does Chuck Schumer fit into all of this? Because obviously a very well-known name, certainly to our crowd here, Bloomberg listeners, especially in New York City, but also beyond, well-known for his ties to Wall Street. How much power does he have here? Because the dynamic in the Senate is a little bit different, right?
Well, Mitch McConnell is able to control the floor most days, and in fact, famously with the Merrick Garland Supreme Court nomination under Obama, he was able to just block that. He doesn't have the same amount of power when it comes to an impeachment trial. There needs to be 51 votes. The vice president's not involved in this. The chief justice is already sitting in the chair and can't vote. There need to be 51 senators to agree on a process. So, that is really what determines this. And if he loses, 4 of his members, and that is possible with Murkowski, Collins, Romney, maybe McSally of Arizona, and others saying we need to have witnesses, then that can be voted on and witnesses will proceed. And Schumer has laid out a very specific plan. He wants to see, the director of the Office of Managed Budget, John Bolton, the National Security Advisor who's now gone from the White House, and others who had direct knowledge of this withholding of Ukraine aid. He's laid it out. He also had a subsequent letter to McConnell with a long list of documents he wants to see, and he continues to beat the drum. He's the lead negotiator here. Pelosi has made this sort of move to withhold the articles, but he is the one who will be in the room talking with McConnell on all of this.
Well, and I think you brought up a very good point that if this goes on any much longer, you have a lot of the Democratic nominees who are out on the campaign trail that are now going to be tied up in some of these hearings as it all unfolds. Who are you hearing from your reporting is at the most risk from, potentially being locked up in D.C., not being out on that campaign trail?
Well, you got to look at Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who are really fighting to gain first place. They have a lot to lose by not being able to challenge and get frontrunner Joe Biden, off of his position, which is right now the frontrunner in terms of polling numbers. And we'll see how it all shakes out when Iowa votes early February. But certainly trapped in Washington, D.C. into February, that could be a problem. But, the piece that I put on the Bloomberg terminal also talks about the risks of this delay for Republicans. There are some vulnerable Republicans, including Cory Gardner of Colorado, Martha McSally of Arizona, and others who don't really want to talk about impeachment. They do not want a nationalized race. Their big negative is really just Trump's negative approval rating. They want to talk about their own accomplishments and about the economy, of course, which is very strong in the Republican strong suit here. But dragging impeachment out doesn't really help them either.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Great stuff, really good context, and I feel much more up to date on this having talked to you. Eric Wasson is congressional reporter for Bloomberg. He joined us from our 99.1 studio in Washington, D.C. Well, coming up, we're going to get the chart of the day from Mr. Dave Wilson. Then we're going to check in with Mark Gurman. He's going to tell us what to expect at the big CES getting underway. The Consumer Electronics Show is formerly known as, now it's just CES because, that's cooler. They're having it all go down in Las Vegas. He's going to tell us what to expect from some of the big tech names. Taylor Riggs is going to be into that conversation. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Jason Kelly in New York, Taylor Riggs in San Francisco, and this is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stocks are extending their gains, on track for another round of all-time highs. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 230. The S&P 500 is up 16. The Nasdaq Composite gaining 90. Shares of Advanced Micro Devices are up about 7%, touching an all-time high. It's the first such milestone for the chip maker since 2000. Analysts are growing more optimistic about the stock, which gained nearly 150% last year. Analysts are growing increasingly worried that T-Mobile's takeover of Sprint will not be completed. A group of states has gone to court to block the deal. A Cowen analyst sees a better than even chance that their lawsuit will succeed. Berkshire Hathaway had a strong fourth quarter. Barron's estimates its portfolio gained more than $30 billion and likely finished 2019 at over $250 billion. Apple's 31% gain played a big part. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all. Bloomberg.com/subscriptions. What if you could keep the top economic...
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Cutting for the net, scores! On the goal line, Marchand scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
You can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen and favorite ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
touchdown. Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and blows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Like what you're listening to? Want to make getting back to it easier? Use the favorite button to keep track of the stations and podcasts you love on TuneIn. Just tap or click the heart icon to add it to your favorites. Then find all your go-to audio under the Favorites tab. Pretty easy, right?
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Studio in New York, Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston, Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco, Bloomberg 960 to the country, Sirius XM Channel 119, and around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
Coming up, we're going to check in with Dave Wilson. He's got a hot take on small caps, and we're going to check in with Mark Gurman about what's going on at CES. First, let's get to Charlie Pellet. He's got an update on the trade. Hey, Charlie.
Well, hello there. I'm looking at the Russell 2000 as Dave Wilson walks in, down 0.4%, but the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, they're all pushing higher, trading at records right now. We've got the S&P up 18 points, a gain there of 0.6%. The Dow up 242 points, up 0.9%. NASDAQ on this first trading day of 2020 is up 94 points. That is a gain of about 1.1%. 10-year up 12.30 seconds. They're 1.87%. Gold up 0.7, now $15.27 the ounce. And West Texas Intermediate crude up 0.1%, $61.11 a barrel. Well, the outlook for trade will be an ongoing issue for investors this new year. Kirk Hartman is president and chief investment officer at Wells Fargo Asset Management.
I think there will be some kind of phase 2 deal, but I'm not looking for it in terms of having a lot of substance, meaning I think that a lot of the protection of trade technology, a lot of the legal issues that, in terms of protecting our companies will be agreed upon. But I don't expect any kind of global macro deal that's going to change the total nature of relations.
Among the day's economic reports, jobless claims down by 2,000 last week to 222,000, the third straight decline. Gold again moving higher, up 0.7%, now $15.27 the ounce, and recapping on the S&P, up 18, a gain of 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Thank you, Charlie. And I'm Taylor Riggs here with Jason Kelly, and this is Bloomberg Radio.
In a small world.
All right, small world. Dave Wilson, you got to, walk you in with some music, right? You can't just come in cold.
No, because people are used to it from chart a day.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, restarts on Monday. So, I'll tell you how to get on the list later. But, yeah, it's a good day to look at smaller companies. You kind of take a step back and say, all right, it's January. Remember the January effect, Jason?
I do.
Absolutely.
I do.
This tendency for smaller companies to do especially well at the beginning of the year. And the thinking is that they get sold off late in the previous year for tax purposes or whatever. And then, if you're optimistic about stocks, you want to go where you might get the biggest bang for your buck. And that tends to be smaller companies. But today you've got something interesting going on, as Charlie Pellet just mentioned. You've got the Russell 2000 down 0.4%. You've got the S&P 500 up 0.6%. You usually don't see that kind of a split. And well, we can define usually, thanks to the Bloomberg terminal. I went back and checked first day of trading annually. You haven't seen this kind of a dichotomy with the Russell down and the S&P 500 up since 2002.
Wow.
Of course, that was in the middle of a bear market.
Yeah.
Here we are. It's a much different set of circumstances, being that, we've got a bull market, which, depending on how you measure it, has gone on for more than a decade. So then it becomes a matter of, well, what the heck is going on here? Why would you have this kind of performance gap? And then I took a look at the industry group weightings. Now, Russell doesn't use the same system that S&P does in terms of how they organize industry groups, but with a Bloomberg terminal, you can kind of overcome that and put the Russell stocks in the same sort of industry categories as the S&P 500 has. And when you run the numbers, you see some very obvious differences. I'll give you two. Technology is about 14% of the Russell. It's the fourth largest industry group. Do the same for the S&P 500. You're talking more than 23%, and it's the biggest. And then you throw in communication services, which, of course, used to be just telephone companies. Now it's Facebook and Alphabet and you name it. Just 2.3% of the Russell is in that group. That is the smallest of the 11 main industry categories that are used with the S&P 500, and you're talking 10% of that index, almost 10, half. So right there, you can see why a day like today would happen. And in fact, the Russell has been behind the S&P 500 for 3 years in a row. That's the longest streak since the 90s. So it just goes to show you what we're seeing today is a continuation of a trend, and there's some pretty obvious reasons if you drill down as to why it's happening.
All right, Dave Wilson, thank you so much. Looking forward to the return of the chart on Monday. Let's head now to Los Angeles. Mark Gurman is there with a preview of CES Digital Assistants on the March. What's happening, Mark?
Hey, thank you for having me. Happy New Year. Yeah, CES is all about digital assistants for, I think, the fourth or fifth or sixth year in a row. It's really unbelievable that the tech community hasn't really been able to come up with a new angle for CES in such a long time. It's just, it's the same yet again. Google, Apple, Amazon will be talking about how great their assistants are and why they're better than everyone else's.
Well, Mark, sorry, Jason,
no, go ahead.
cut you off.
Go ahead,
I'm
Taylor.
the technology girl, so I'm taking the lead. Mark, you were talking, not only are they the same new companies, but really the same old devices. Are we expecting any new hardware?
Yeah, no, Taylor, and yes, you are the technology girl. There's really going to be nothing, really, honestly. As far as I know, you're going to see some software enhancements both on the Amazon and Google side. You're going to see nothing new from Apple, and you're going to just see the continuation of them praising their user numbers and how these devices can interact with each other and putting the assistants in more places. I think I saw an Alexa shower last year, so maybe it'll be an Alexa toilet this year.
Oh, boy. Well, and I have to say, this is coming at a time, Mark, where it feels like we've got a lot of big existential questions about the roles of these assistants in our lives. Some great reporting that's been done by Bloomberg and others around this idea of listening in and privacy. Is that at all in the ethos here, or in the ether, I should say, as we get into CES?
I guess that's actually the interesting wrinkle this year, that there's a little bit more controversy, right? People knew these things were bad, or some people thought they were bad to have in your home, but at this point we have some actual, facts and figures behind that. So I think you'll see a lot of these companies try to show their privacy angles this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Mark, Jason and I had just talked about a story about Dell incorporating the iOS system as well into some of their hardware. Are we looking at further integration? I want omnichannel. I don't know if I have an Apple, but then an Alexa device. Are we going to see any more seamless transitions between all of these companies?
Yeah, there is this consortium, or sort of this agreement that the Siri, Amazon Alexa, and Google Assistant all came to. This was, a few weeks ago now, to bring them all together so they're more compatible with each other. You're going to see some of these companies talking about that at CES, I'm sure. But I think we talked about on the station, back when that was announced, that I'm pretty skeptical of this. Right. These companies like this, say they're partnering all the time, but at the end of the day, they just want to make money for themselves.
Right,
So
right.
I think it's really a facade more than anything. You'll see in a year from now this thing's not going to happen.
All right. We look forward to getting more updates from you as CES gets going. Mark Gurman, tech reporter for Bloomberg, joining us from Los Angeles. Back here in New York, Bob Moon is here with World National Headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, it turns out there are significant exceptions to a sweeping ban on vaping products previously promised by President Trump. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar told a media conference call the policy won't affect menthol or tobacco flavors and only applies to flavored pods popular with young users.
That means all flavored, cartridge-based e-cigarettes, except for tobacco and menthol. Youth overwhelmingly prefer cartridge-based e-cigarette products, and the two flavors that we are not prioritizing, tobacco and menthol, are much less likely to be used by kids.
Azar declared public health officials will not stand idly by as a new generation of Americans becomes addicted. Iran or its proxy forces may be planning further strikes on American interests in the Middle East, and the U.S. is prepared to take preemptive military action if it gets sufficient warning. That warning today from Defense Secretary Mark Esper at a Pentagon briefing.
Do I think they may do something? Yes, and they will likely regret it.
He says the U.S. is prepared to act. Esper cited a series of violent attacks on U.S. personnel and facilities in Iraq in recent months by Iran-supported militia groups. Willie Nelson frequently sings about traveling and seeing things he might never see again. Chances are he's never before encountered a 15-foot-tall hay sculpture of himself. Guitar and iconic pigtail braids included, created by a Virginia woman. She calls it, wait for it, Will Hay Nelson. Since it went on display in the community of Huddleston, Beth Bays says it seems to have really struck a chord. Global news, 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
Bob, thanks a lot.
Elite advisory firms rely on BNY Mellon's Pershing to meet the needs of their most complex clients. Karen Novak, Chief Operating Officer at Pershing Advisor Solutions, explains how.
At BNY Mellon's Pershing, we bring customized insights and strategies to help you grow your advisory business and stay on the leading edge. We can support the needs of your most sophisticated clients with a full range of investment and wealth management solutions, from access to private banking to consolidated bank and brokerage custody. Learn why so many of the largest advisory firms turn to us for the financial strength and high-touch service that BNY Mellon's Pershing can provide. Are you well positioned to stand out from your competition?
Learn more at Pershing.com or call 800-445-4467. Brokerage custody provided by Pershing LLC and other services provided by Pershing Advisor Solutions LLC. Both members of FINRA and SIPC. Private banking and bank custody provided by BNY Mellon NA. Member FDIC.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to 64,000.
Are you interested?
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
You might already know that TuneIn allows you to listen to all the pro sports leagues wherever you go. But did you know TuneIn is also home to the wide world of college sports?
Open three, DeAndre Hunter got it! Handoff Carruthers, big hole right side. He leaps and he surges in, touchdown!
From live college football, basketball, and baseball games to podcasts and coaches shows fueling your love for the game in your school. And the best part is, it's all free. Search college sports to find your team or league. Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and blows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Hello, I'm Nat Coombs from ESPN's The Nat Coombs Show, which admittedly is 1 out of 10 for original podcast name, but 10 out of 10 for NFL chat. Every week, we're dropping 4 episodes with an all-pro lineup of terrific guests, journalists, comedians, players, coaches, you name it, all getting you up to speed with everything gridiron. The Nat Coombs Show, American football, British accent. Add to your favorites and listen on TuneIn.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three, it's up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Along the goal line, scores and tucks it home.
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
And a move, and a shot, they score.
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed... When you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen now to ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
4 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We've got the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all at records, all moving higher. 13 minutes to go until we wrap up the first trading day of 2020. Right now, looking at a 1.1% gain for the NASDAQ Composite Index at 9,070. It is up 97 points right now. The S&P 500 Index up 20 at 3251. Gain there of 0.6%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 260 points higher by 0.9%. Interestingly, though, the Russell 2000 trading lower today by 0.4%. Gold up 0.7%, 15.28 the ounce. The 10-year up 12.30 seconds. The yield 1.87%. And West Texas Intermediate crude oil higher, little changed, up just about 0.1% right now, 61.15 a barrel. So strong gains to start the new year with the S&P up 20, up 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
I'm driving in my car. I turn on the radio.
How about you let me drive?
Oh, no. Who's gonna drive you home?
Honey, please, I'll do the driving.
Drive on.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
Just drive, baby.
It's the question that drives us.
This is the drive to the close.
That funky music will drive us till the dawn.
On Bloomberg Radio.
And it's time for the drive to the close on this first day of trading of the new year. Let's bring in Kathy Boyle, president and founder of Chapin Hill Advisors, joining us on the phone from lovely Bedford, New York. Kathy, great to have you back with us.
Happy New Year. Good to be here.
And to you. So last year, pretty good year. I think it's safe to say for the equity markets, everybody felt pretty good about their 401ks as they were reviewing them over the holidays. What does 2020 look like to you, just to start?
So last year was driven by an expansion in PE, price over earnings ratio. So we started the year out with earnings estimates getting downgraded along the way, but the PE expanded from 13 to 18. And so I don't think this year is going to be the same unless we have a real acceleration of earnings, and that seems to be the problem. Recently, I just read a report with 15 companies reported in November, and they're a wide swath of different industries. 10 of those companies were then downgraded for Q1 with analysts. So that's not a good sign. Right now, earnings estimates are rated to be a 9% increase. If they fall short of that, the PE could collapse. So I think, risk is high at this point.
Well, Kathy, I like that you talked about the divergence that we're seeing, because when you mentioned earnings, I'm taking a look at our estimates for the fourth quarter of 2019, which those figures we should be getting in several weeks or so. The index on an earnings per share year-over-year growth is expected to decline by 1.4%, but there's a lot of differentiation, as we know, tech looking to actually kind of grow the bottom line by about 3% or so. What are you seeing in terms of sectors? Is it more of the same, those sort of cyclical high growth sectors?
Well, value's out, growth has been in, and value has historically outperformed growth. It's been a real decline. What people are not looking at is that, today everybody's focused on stocks. Yeah, so here we go, wicked up wave. People are saying, we can extend this another 10 years. I don't buy that at all. So I think that the things that have led the most, there's a very concentrated market. You've got a lot of hedge funds underperforming. 500 and some odd hedge funds closed this year, and they're giving up the ghost, and it's a very crowded market. Apple, the FANG names, those are the ones that are very crowded. So I think technology, it cannot sustain where it is, which has driven NASDAQ's return, which is the highest return for 2019. So I think that people have to be cautious. You have to be cautious in so many areas. Gold is a good place to go, and gold is something that you can act as a hedge. We've got global debt expanding. We've got debt to GDP at outrageous levels. We've got the highest enterprise to EBITDA, price to sales. We haven't seen these levels since 2000, actually, in those two metrics.
All right. Speaking of Apple, Kathy, I just want to bring our listeners a quick headline. Taylor and I both saw it at the same time as it crossed red on the Bloomberg. Apple crossing $300 for the first time as stock extends its record high. It's flirty. It's like right at $300, now down just below 300. So we'll see where it closes there, Taylor, but feels like a big deal to say the least. So, Kathy, what worries you the most about this market right now?
So it worries me the most that people are apathetic, that people are not realizing that this debt liquidity sugar high can't continue forever. They're really not looking at the risk in the markets. And they don't understand that there's risk in the bond market and stock market. Bond market was up 8% last year. Just a small move in interest rates, Jason, can make a huge difference in a portfolio. Like a quarter point rise in a 10-year treasury can translate into a couple percentage points loss in your portfolio. And so people are not recognizing that the lack of correlation is not there. So a traditional 60-40 bond portfolio did great last year. 100% equity did even better, but it really wasn't much below that. I think it was 19% for 60-40 versus 20-something for the S&P, 26, 29%. So you're not really giving up a lot to have that mix, but what people are not looking at is the downside risk. And we can't continue to inflate the debt that we have. The balance sheet of the Fed has gone up dramatically. Foreigners have slowed down, actually liquidated net $99 billion of fewer purchases of treasuries. And that supports the debt. We can't continue to print money and buy it back ourselves. So this helicopter sort of money could stop and rates start to rise. You've got a housing market that'll quickly be affected. Mortgage rates go up. And a huge subprime bubble with auto lenders. A huge amount of auto lenders have subprime debt. So these people are not good credit risks, and any rise in rates can cause more defaults. And these are packaged and bought in portfolios on Wall Street. So I think there's a lot of risk, but a lot of it relates to interest rate risk, in my opinion.
Yeah, Kathy, talk to me more about those auto loans, because I was sitting here with Jason trying to figure out, I remember 2006, 2007, no one really saw the housing crisis. A few people were looking at certain cracks, and Jason and I were talking about where is the next crack? Is it student loan debt? Is it corporate debt, fallen angels? Is it the auto loan market? Are you really seeing the auto loans as a potential next crack, so to speak?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it shows the lack of credit worthiness within our economy. So we're supposedly at full employment, yet the bulk of those jobs have been in lower paid, industries like retail and housekeeping and hotels, et cetera, hospitality. So I don't think the average American, 50% of Americans do not own any stocks. 20% of Americans have inflated their net worth over the last number of years. So this bifurcation between the up and the down, the higher level, lower level, is concerning. So it's mortgages are also continuing to creep back into that lower documentation, alternative documentation. But the subprime market on auto is interesting because cars have gotten so expensive. When you finance an SUV at $70,000, $80,000, they're financed over a longer period of time. And the depreciation rate of a car when you drive off the lot, it just falls down. So the cars are not worth what the debt is worth. And the same thing with leasing, so it's basically a Ponzi game they're playing. Now, how big is the auto market relative to the overall market? I don't know that, but Liberty Nation reports, and they said basically 20% of the loans originating in the first half of 2019 were subprime.
Wow.
That's a very large percentage.
That is.
And
that's huge.
61 billion. Worth. So I think, and then what they do is they securitize these, they package them up and ship them out, and regular people buy them as alternatives to bonds within their portfolio, or they go into bond funds. So that's another place where there's hidden risk in your portfolio. Yeah. People don't always know what their duration is on their bond portfolio, and they think a bond is safe.
Right. All right. Nice words of caution. We're going to leave it there. Kathy Boyle, really appreciate it. Always good to catch up with you. President, founder of Chapin Hill Advisors, joining us on the phone from Bedford, New York. Well, coming up, we're going to get you through the close of trading on this first day of trading here in 2020. Taylor Riggs out in San Francisco. Jason Kelly here with you in New York City. The close coming up next. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
The starting.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn. The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds, or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen now to ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slams it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellett. Sudden surge right into the close records for the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ. Folks from the David Kudla Foundation and the Engage Undergraduate Investment Conference ringing that closing bell as we wrap up the first trading day of 2020. S&P surging 27 points. That was a gain of 0.8% at 3,258. The Dow rallying 332 points, up 1.2%. Much of that gain coming really in the final 14 minutes of trading. NASDAQ up 119 points today, a gain today of 1.3%. So stocks starting the year on the front foot, building on strong gains for many assets in 2019 as investors cheer the latest policy move by China's central bank to support its economy. But the question for investors, can we expect 2019's gains to continue into 2020? Kathy Boyle is president of Chapin Hill Advisors. She was our guest on Bloomberg Business Week.
I don't think this year is going to be the same unless we have a real acceleration of earnings, and that seems to be the problem. Recently, I just read a report with 15 companies reported in November, and there are wide swaths of different industries. 10 of those companies were then downgraded for Q1 with analysts, so that's not a good sign.
On an update for the rest of the market, the Russell 2000 index, small cap shares down 0.1%. 10-year up 12.30 seconds with a yield of 1.87%. Gold up 0.3% at $15.28 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude oil up today by 0.2%. WTI 61.15. Brent on this first trading day of 2020 at 66.22 a barrel. Advanced Micro Devices rallied today with the stock hitting an intraday record. Chipmaker's first such milestone in nearly 2 decades. AMD surging 7.1%, ending today's session at $49.10. So again, recapping the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all rallying, surge into the close with the S&P up 27 points, a gain of 0.8%. I'm Charlie Pellett, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Your next move will be your last.
Nobody move a muscle.
Damn, Stippy, you got some moves.
And I'm moving from town to town.
Time is money. Let's go. Come on, move it.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
Bloomberg Business Week, Movers and Shakers, with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, it's time to do some moving and shaking here on the first day of trading in the year 2020. You heard Charlie go through the numbers, upwards of 1% gains on both NASDAQ and the Dow, 0.8% for the S&P. Let's go down a level on the S&P, Taylor, if we can. Winners definitely outpacing the losers there. 302 stocks up, I should say. 201 down, 2 unchanged. And you heard Charlie mention it, but I know you want to dig into it a little bit more because you are the self-described tech girl. AMD, your number one gainer. Whoa, as Carol Masser would say.
Yeah, crazy. AMD hitting another all-time high, taking out the previous record. I think it's another day, another record for really all of these tech stocks. And it was actually coming from an upgrade earlier today as we were taking a look at some of the analyst calls on the street. This time it comes from Nomura. They're raising their price target now to $58 a share from $40. They're really talking about the company's prospects for 2020. The analyst David Wong is saying that AMD will continue strengthening its competitive position in 2020. Also looking at other analysts like RBC and Wedbush talking about early momentum in some of those CPU chips. You know, Jason, it's always AMD versus Intel. AMD for years has said they're going to take out Intel. We've yet to see it, but certainly looks like they are making some progress in some of those share gains. And it's a lot of PC, but I'm also hearing it's a lot of video game consoles that are coming out next year, that some of the GPUs as well, they could really start to gain some market share on.
Well, and AMD helping drive the semiconductor index, the SOX, the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, up about 2% today. And, you know, after a great year last year, we'll see if chips can continue on. You and I got to catch up earlier in the week with Ian King, our man in the chip world and networking world, and even he, not the most optimistic guy in the world, he seemed pretty optimistic in some ways. He's a realist, to say the least, and he's been following this for a long time. We should mention Apple. That stock, I believe, did in fact close above $300. It did, $300.35. And, you know, interesting to talk to Mark Gurman. He, you know, like Ian King on chips, we have Mark Gurman on Apple. He knows everything about that company, and, you know, talking about everything that's going on at CES and the big names rolling out their assistants and seeing if that will continue to be a place where they make a lot of money. But Apple just keeps on moving up. It was up upwards of 80% last year. It's just incredible.
And I want to talk about something that's on the other side of that, Jason. Take a look at Signet, at one point off about 15%. This is after Wells Fargo this morning came out and said that Signet is the most sensitive to any economic downturn of all the companies in their coverage. So cutting it now to an underweight from a neutral. You now only have about 3 holds on the stock, 2 sells, no buys. Analysts pretty neutral to bearish on this company. And I was taking a look at the breakdown of sales. Signet Jewelers, we know it's Kay, Zales, Jared. The problem, I guess the good news, Kay Jewelers makes up about 40% of the company's revenue. Their sales are only down by about 0.1%. The problem is Zales, Jared, and International make up 20%, 10% each, and those sales are falling as much as 13% for the first 9 months of the year. So there's a little good news, little bad news, at least for that retail company. Doesn't look so good today.
All right, let's take a quick look at volatility. The VIX down 9.6%, closing at 12.46. This is Bloomberg.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Hi, my name is Dave.
Wilson, where are you? Wilson!
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
We're going for a price on Wilson.
Open up the door, it's Dave. Who? Dave. Hey, Mr. Wilson!
Dave Wilson here with us with his stock of the day, Regis, RGS. What is this company again?
Well, Jason, they're all about hair salons, but I got to tell you, I got to put a disclaimer in here because I've gone to Supercuts to get my hair cut for years, and Supercuts is one of those chains owned by Regis.
Hey, there you go.
And the salon was, too, until last year when it was sold. And that sale furthered what Regis calls an asset-light strategy, franchising salons rather than owning them. It's been a multi-year transition for the company, which was founded in 1922 and went public in 1991. And yes, that ticker is RGS. Regis has made several sales along the way, and one of them has come back to bite the company. It's an October 2017 deal to sell all its salons in U.S. and Canadian malls to a buyer called the Beautiful Group. Now, the buyer couldn't meet its obligations, and on Tuesday, Regis took back about 200 salons whose leases have yet to expire. The company disclosed that these locations are unprofitable as a group, and the lease liabilities total about $30 million. So it's a setback for this asset-light approach, and it didn't go over well. Regis's shares suffered their biggest drop since August as they fell 6.7%.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. And I just go to the barber around the corner. I got a haircut this morning, as a matter of fact. I look much better than I did when I was in San Francisco, Taylor, just letting you know.
Why would you do that?
Why would I get a haircut?
Why would you look better in New York than you do for San Francisco?
I know. Well, we're much, we're much more superficial here on the East Coast. You guys are much more laid back. All right. Coming up, we're going to catch up with Leo Kelly, no relation. We're going to talk about everything from Schwab and TD, Ameritrade to the NCAA. Looking forward to catching up with him. In the meantime, you're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Jason Kelly in New York City, Taylor Riggs out there living it up in San Francisco ahead of her big technology show coming up shortly. Right here, Bob Moon is going to give us world and national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Looking good, Jason. The children of one of 5 people wounded in a mass stabbing at a Hanukkah celebration are making an emotional appeal for an end to anti-Semitic attacks. They released a photo of 72-year-old Joseph Newman, who underwent more surgery today but may never regain consciousness, according to his doctors. Newman's family agreed to release a graphic photo of their critically injured father connected to a breathing tube to show the brutality of the machete attack. Congressman Gregory Meeks says Newman could be any one of us.
Whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you're Asian or Hispanic, it's all of us. Because a threat of anti-Semitism and hatred anywhere is a threat everywhere.
At a news conference today, Congressman Elliot Engel said acts of hatred like this will happen again if people try to excuse this away. U-Haul International has announced plans to stop interviewing and hiring nicotine users, including people who use e-cigarettes and vaping products. The moving truck rental company's new nicotine-free policy is set to go into effect February 1st in more than 20 states where it operates. U-Haul International employs around 30,000 people across the U.S. and Canada. Yankees pitcher Domingo Germán will miss the first 63 games of the 2020 season as part of an 81-game ban for violating Major League Baseball's domestic violence policy involving his girlfriend, with whom he has at least one child. The league announced the suspension today, saying Germán has agreed not to appeal. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
You can't be the only one who spends time examining angles,
This sort of mini deal, what would it look like?
considering possibilities,
From a credit perspective, this is good news.
planning for eventualities.
This company really has to get back on a growth track.
You're right. The others are here.
General Electric is such an interesting story.
Bloomberg Markets with Lisa Abramowitz and Paul Sweeney. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
Open calendar. What's my schedule looking like?
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an emergency flash flood between Park and First Street.
What? No, that doesn't work. I'm busy then. Decline. Decline.
Floods don't exactly work around your schedule. Disasters don't plan ahead. But you can. It starts with talking to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. So don't wait. Communicate. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
The market's in focus.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever.
Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
Next time you look up at the stars, think about this.
Inside you are the remains of a stellar explosion. You are made of stardust. And without the stars, there wouldn't be us.
I'm Guy Raj, the wonders of the universe and the people who still look up every night. Next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR. You can subscribe to the TED Radio Hour on TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen and favorite ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today. Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Cutting for the net, scores! On the goal line, Marshawn scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
You can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium, from regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today. Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slammed it down.
Get your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
At Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all rallied to records on the first trading day of 2020. S&P up 27 points, a gain today of 0.8%. The Dow up 330 points. That was a gain of 1.2%. And NASDAQ up 119 points, up today by 1.3%. 10-year up 12.30 seconds, yield 1.87%. Gold up 0.7%, 15.28 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up just about 0.2%. Mega caps: Apple, Alphabet, Nike, all notching records today. Apple, by the way, beginning the year on a positive note with a gain that pushed the stock above $300 for the first time. Recapping, stocks at a record. S&P up 27 points, up 0.8%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week here on Bloomberg Radio. All right, so let's look ahead to 2020, recap a little 2019, talk about a whole variety of issues with Leo Kelly, founder, chief executive officer, and co-chief investment officer of Verdant's Capital Advisors, looking after about $2 billion in client assets. He joins us on the phone from Baltimore. Leo, Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you.
All right, so encapsulate, if you can, 2019 and in a word or phrase. How do you look back on it?
Recovery.
Yeah.
A recovery off of what was a terrible second half to 2018 and the worst December in the market's history. I think there's a lot of there's enthusiasm yet concern over the size of the advance of the market. It was a great year. What was really terrific about this year was the breadth of the advance across the market, which we have not seen in recent rallies. But I think realistically, if you were to look at the market rather than January 1 to December 31st, go back into July, the market is 6% over its former high. So it's been a great year. It's a great advance, and a lot of it has been recovery off of the damage done last year.
You know, one of the things that happened toward the end of the year, Leo, was some consolidation in the brokerage business, fees coming down. It's obviously of great interest to anyone who has any sort of brokerage account. What are the implications of all that going forward?
I think what we're seeing is the commoditized segments of this industry prices compacting very quickly because of technology, and that's good for a client. As we see this quote-unquote race to zero and commissions collapsing, and we'll continue to see this in various different facets of the business, that means client costs are going to begin to come down. Business has changed radically over the last 20-some years, and as I look at today's business, it's important for someone in my business to make sure that they're providing value-added advice to a client, because that part of the business still remains very stable, the advice side of the business. But the actual transaction side of the business, those costs will continue to come down. Obviously, they can't go below zero, but they're going to keep coming down, and that benefits the client. I would say the one warning I have to clients, however, is remember, if the cost is zero, then the company is selling something else.
Right. They're making money somewhere. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that seemed to be a really important thing that we needed to keep bringing up throughout the course of all these discussions, that somewhere somebody's making money. There really is. I mean, we joke about nothing, no such thing as a free lunch, but there's no such thing as a free trade ultimately, right?
Well, exactly. What's happening in the world of advisory-based business is that these large companies, the Fidelities and the Schwabs and the other wirehouses, they're realizing that clients are more educated, they're more intelligent relative to the basic pieces of this industry, and it is advice that the client is seeking, the personal relationship with an advisor who understands them and can help keep them in markets, that can help invest and know when and where to take risks, that can help them with financial planning and estate planning, some of these more complex issues. And I think these larger companies are realizing they need to start to capture clients and try to bring them over to their advisory-based businesses. So at the end of the day, it is always the advisor and the client's relationship that has value. So I think this is the beginning of a wave of these businesses trying to add to their advisory-based offerings.
All right. I want to ask you about something maybe a little off the beaten path, which is it is college bowl season, as we know. The NCAA is grappling, and as it has been for quite some time, and now you're getting some rulings around potentially paying athletes, college athletes, in some way, shape, or form. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's an interesting problem that California has forced to the forefront with their law, saying that athletes can be compensated. I think if you look on the surface, and I'm the father of a son who plays college sports, and I think if you look at this on the surface, this is a no-brainer. Just pay them.
Right.
They're using their images. The schools make a lot of money, and you should just pay them. And I think there's a clear argument for that. But I think that the other side of that argument is the law of unintended consequence, right? So the first part of this is, what is pay? Is it cash in hand? Is a scholarship pay? Is food and board and clothing and all of that, is that pay? And I think the one caution I would add to this argument is that we don't establish rules that are designed for that super elite athlete in college athletics, who, by the way, in today's world rarely stays through college,
right?
Who's off to the pros to make a significant amount of money just a couple of years later. And are we going to create an environment where attention becomes too focused to the few and the few schools that have the marketing advantages, where kids could make more money at the expense of, say, the female golfing NCAA player, or the hockey player, or some of the other players, or even the offensive tackle who opens the holes for the star running back?
Right. No, there's a lot to unpack there. I look forward to catching up with you again, talk about that and much more. Leo Kelly, founder, chief executive officer, co-chief investment officer of Verdant's Capital Advisors, looking after about $2 billion in client assets, joining us on the phone from Baltimore. Well, coming up, we're going to dive into the world of AI, catch up with Beth Smith over at IBM. That and much more ahead, including some tips on where you might want to vacation. Maybe you're just back from vacation, but you want to take another vacation coming up in 2020. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Jason Kelly here in New York on Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. January 2nd was like the 4th of July on Wall Street. Post-New Year's fireworks powered stocks to record highs. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped 330. The S&P 500 gained 27. The Nasdaq Composite climbed 120. Americans wrapped up 2019 in an upbeat mood. Bloomberg's Consumer Comfort Index climbed last week to the best level in 5 months on rising optimism about the economy and personal finances. It was the 6th increase in 7 weeks. Lowe's has the Help Wanted sign up as it prepares for the spring selling season. The home improvement chain plans to add more than 53,000 full and part-time and seasonal workers. It will hold hiring events in various regions through March. At U-Haul, smokers need not apply. The truck and trailer rental company says it will no longer hire nicotine users in 21 states where it's legal to do so, effective February 1st. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
What if you could keep... You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Did you know your favorite radio stations are in your pocket? Yes, the TuneIn app lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio anywhere you want. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour. But we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slammed it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen now to ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
On the goal line, Martin scores and takes it home.
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, he scores.
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted.
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 1061 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
Coming up, we're going to dig into the world of AI. 2020 could be a seminal moment, as it were, as adoption really picks up. The general manager of Watson AI over at IBM is going to join us and give us some predictions. But first, let's get back to Charlie Pellet. He's got an update on what's going on after the close of trading. Hey, Charlie.
Indeed, a deal that's not going down. Aluminum Pacific Biosciences of California calling off their planned $1.2 billion deal after antitrust enforcers last month moved to block the merger of the DNA sequencing companies. Records on Wall Street. First trading day of the brand new year. S&P 500 index up 27 points, up 0.8%. The Dow up 330 today. A lot of the gains coming in the final 14 minutes of trading, up by 1.2% on the Dow. NASDAQ up 119 points. That was a gain there of just about 1.3%. Mega caps Apple, Alphabet, Nike, all notching records. So again, the 10-year up 12/30 seconds, yield 1.87%. Gold up 0.8% today, 15.28 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.10, 61.16 a barrel. Big bankruptcies are on the rise in the U.S., running at the highest level in almost a decade. And with that story, here's Bloomberg's Vinny Del Giudice.
Data compiled by Bloomberg show 136 big U.S. companies filed for bankruptcy last year, the most since 2010. Energy companies led last year. Chapter 11 filings, accounting for roughly a quarter of failures, a trend that could extend into the new year. Bloomberg's bankruptcy data track firms with assets and liabilities totaling more than $50 million. Beneath Del Giudice, Bloomberg Radio.
Again, recapping records to start the new trading year. S&P up 27 to 32.57, up 0.8%. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thank you so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week here on Bloomberg Radio. So let's turn now to Beth Smith. She is the general manager of Watson AI over at IBM. She joins us on the phone from New York City. So Beth, it feels like it's a very exciting time for AI. 2020 could be one of those years. It feels like that we look back on and say, oh, all right, it really started happening. Or maybe it's already happening and people just haven't noticed. What do you think?
Well, I do think it's a little bit of already happening, but I would tell you that in my mind, 2020 is going to be the year that AI goes mainstream for businesses.
And
we've
why?
Seen that from
what's going on?
Go ahead.
No, I just want to understand why this is the year and what you're seeing that makes you think that.
So we've recently done a survey that reinforced what I'm seeing every day. So it's nice to have the data to back it up, and that has changed. Last year, about this time, it was probably 5 to 15% were adopting, and now we're approaching 40%. So that right there shows that companies around the world are really taking notice to AI, and there's a whole another 40% that are preparing and evaluating because they know the value's there. And I really think the reason is because of the business use cases and the value folks see and the outcomes that companies are able to get from it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that, because I feel like AI is one of these science fiction-y type things that people talk about in rather vague terms. You know how it actually looks and works on the ground inside companies. Give us an example of something we either are seeing or may see shortly.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of the different kinds of outcomes. So one is about companies being able to provide better service to their customers. So I think of a company like Royal Bank of Scotland and the fact that they use AI to provide customer service, retail banking, to help their customers be able to pay a friend, which is a complex kind of process, or they use it to be able to help mortgage officers determine whether or not they should approve loans and that sort of thing. So that's an example in customer service, and we see a lot of that. But it also has opened up superpowers for a number of professionals. Think of marketeers, engineers, radiologists, accountants, any kind of profession there. And I like to think of that as coming back and unlocking the insights and information that's in language. The natural language documents, the communication, et cetera, that all these professionals have access to. And AI really helps you now be able to analyze that and get insights from it so that, for example, Honda R&D engineers are using it to then better increase the reliability of cars and to improve the design process for the driving experience because of what they can now get from this additional data that they can unlock.
Right. Well, talk to me a little bit more about that natural language processing, NLP, as you guys call it, because that has been, to use a technical term, sort of a bugaboo. It feels like it's been a really tough nut to crack, as it were. What have we seen that's sort of a breakthrough there? Is it just a matter of the machines getting smarter and smarter? Is it data processing speed? Like, what has allowed us to sort of jump that chasm?
So, I think if you come back to the challenge of it, it's because we as humans think about how we end up, processing and understanding and communicating with language, and that makes it more challenging, had been more challenging for programmable systems to therefore have that core understanding, which is unique about it. And then over the last several years, there's been a number of technical advancements to open up that understanding and techniques to allow the training of it and the understanding of what that is. I think some great examples of that are seen through a project that our research team debuted called Project Debater. And the reason I think that this, really helps bring it home is when you think about a human debater, they get 10 or 15 minutes to understand a topic. They have to formulate their argument, listen to a rebuttal, and then come back and summarize. Now, give a computer the same constraints, 10 or 15 minutes to understand the topic, formulate an argument, listen for 4 minutes, and then formulate a summary back. And that means now there's a point of understanding, comprehension, and organization of thoughts and ideas to be able to make the point of the particular argument.
Right. That's so interesting. All right. Well, much to look out for, it feels like, in 2020. Beth Smith, she is the general manager of Watson AI for IBM. She joined us on the phone from New York City. A long history in this business, going back to Cary, North Carolina. I've spent a lot of time in that part of the world, and what IBM has done down there, some of the coolest research has happened down there in the Research Triangle. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Jason Kelly here with you on a Thursday afternoon. It's the first day of trading of 2020. We had a nice little green day on the markets. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We're also going to talk about where you might want to go on vacation coming up in 2020. It's never too soon to start thinking about that. And first, let's get to Bob Moon. He's got world national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, the presidential candidates are releasing their fundraising totals for the last quarter of 2019. More than $34 million for Bernie Sanders, more than $24 million for Pete Buttigieg, and more reports to come. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports from Washington.
It adds up to a long and potentially seesaw primary season, analyst Isaac Boltanski of Compass Point Research said in a Bloomberg interview.
The main takeaway from today's fundraising numbers, which are huge hauls, I think the main takeaway should be that we are going to have a small group of well-funded and committed candidates, and I would argue fervor, that I think is going to continue throughout the primary.
And President Trump's campaign reported $46 million raised during the months that impeachment was underway. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
Iran or its proxy forces may be planning further strikes on American interests in the Middle East, and the U.S. is prepared to take preemptive military action if it gets sufficient warning. That warning today from Defense Secretary Mark Esper at a Pentagon briefing.
Do I think they may do something? Yes, and they will likely regret it.
He says the U.S. is prepared to respond. Esper cited a series of violent attacks on U.S. personnel and facilities in Iraq in recent months by Iran-supported military militia groups. There are significant exceptions to a sweeping ban on vaping products previously promised by President Trump. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar told a media conference call a policy won't affect menthol or tobacco flavors and only applies to flavored pods popular with young users. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Bob Moon.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients, and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Vatsal Shah is Senior Project Engineer at Mott MacDonald, a global engineering consultancy with more than 16,000 employees. He earned his Ph.D. at New Jersey Institute of Technology, and as an adjunct professor is helping NJIT students explore emerging technologies.
My focus is renewable markets, emerging technologies, the idea of floating cities. What are we doing to develop that? What will happen to the city on the water? Well, you're going to have waves hitting it. You're going to have solar. How are you going to develop plants? How are you going to develop vegetation farming? That sort of thought process happens at NJIT. We actually plan out what will the city look like. How do we develop that so in 10 years we're actually ready to take on those challenges when we have our first development in the water? NJIT also has been doing a lot of work in self-healing materials, so taking the polymers and the new material that we have in our material sciences departments and putting them into things like concrete, things like steel, reinforcing our soil.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Are you interested in a challenging...
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today. Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? We've got you covered. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to every NFL game live as it's happening.
LaShawn McCoy has an opening on the right side, punches into the end zone for the touchdown.
Or catch it later on demand.
Offset backs behind Mahomes. The give is to Williams. Starts right, cuts it back to the left, and blows into the end zone for the touchdown.
You call the plays. Follow the NFL anytime, anywhere, all season long with TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now. You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless.
Follow and tune in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Want TuneIn to remind you when the big NFL game is about to get underway? Be sure notifications are allowed on your phone and search NFL on the TuneIn app. Find the game you want to hear under events and tap Notify Me. We'll let you know exactly when it's time to listen in for kickoff.
Okay, ready to ring in the new year?
New Year's is a time of new beginnings, new opportunities, and fresh chances to get it right. Happy New Year from TuneIn.
Happy New Year.
For the net, scores! On the goal line, Marshawn scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium. Upgrade today.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
Pascal gobbles up the rebound and slammed it down.
Catch your favorite NBA team right here on TuneIn.
A step back, deep three is up and in.
Search NBA on TuneIn and hear all the action. The NBA lives on TuneIn.
News 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Records on Wall Street with the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all rallying on the first trading day of 2020. S&P up 27, a gain of 0.8%. The Dow up 330 points, up 1.2%, and NASDAQ rallied 119 points, a gain there of 1.3%. But the Russell 2000 2000 index of small cap shares declined today. Russell 2000 down by 0.1%. 10-year up 12.30 seconds. That yield 1.87%. Gold up 0.8%. 15.28 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 0.2%. 61.16. Apple climbing to a record today above $300 a share. Recapping stocks higher. S&P up 27, a gain there of 0.8%. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. All right, so you may still be on vacation or you're just back from vacation, but it's never too early to stop thinking about your next vacation. And that's why we have Nikki Eckstein, travel editor for Bloomberg Pursuits. This is an amazing package that gets put together every year. And if you surf through it on the web, you should take a look at all the pictures, read it all. It's very concise but wide-ranging. Nikki here with me in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. Hi.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome to see you. So let's go back to sort of the process. How do you even begin to get your arms around this?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's the world is actually quite large.
Big,
we
big
want
place.
to think that it's small, but it's not. I work literally the whole year round, scouring the globe for news for hotel openings, cultural openings, new museums, new attractions, new reasons to travel somewhere, political situations that fold and unfold. And our lists are in development from now until easily 2022. But we've picked the 24 places that this year definitively will be hottest and most exciting.
All right, so we probably won't get to every single one, but start with your favorite.
Ooh, my favorite. Well, I'm really itching to go to Mozambique.
Okay.
And I'm really excited about this one, not just because it's far-flung and it's exotic, but there's a hotel opening called Kisawa Retreat. And it's going to be phenomenally expensive. It's like $5,500 a night.
Whoa.
No joke. But what I think is really fascinating about it is that, A, they are going to be a research center for scientists to do development work on biodiversity research and on sustainability research. And they've found this fascinating new technology to 3D print their bungalows using sand and seawater. So it is one of the most sustainable constructions literally ever built.
Well, I'm glad you brought up this sustainability aspect, because I do feel like going into 2020, and it felt like this was a theme that kind of pulled through a lot of these places, a lot of these destinations. People are more concerned about their footprint, about the choices that they're making, but also the choices that are essentially made on their behalf.
Sure.
At a lot of these places. Did you find more of that as you were doing that?
So I don't think that so many destinations are necessarily developing tourism with that in mind. What they are doing instead is they're trying to find ways to scatter the reasons to go throughout more of the calendar year so that you see less of the burden of over-tourism and more of a dispersed tourism footprint. We do see, however, that a lot of travel outfitters, companies that plan group trips, for instance, are finding interesting ways to offset your travel or book through partners that are keeping sustainability in mind.
All right. So some people are quite adventurous like you. Other people, maybe listening in the domestic United States, are, want to stay a little bit close to home. You do have some cool things. You talk about the Finger Lakes, not too far from here. You talk about West Hollywood, I believe. Tell us about some of the more domestic destinations here.
The Finger Lakes are a highly underrated destination when it comes to wine and food in particular. So we've got that. West Hollywood is a tiny neighborhood, really, in terms of square footage, and it's just bursting with new hotels and new restaurants and exciting things to explore. But also close to home, I would like to call out personally some of the issues that you just asked me about, super relevant in both Yosemite and what we're calling inland Alaska.
Okay.
Not cruising to Alaska, but seeing the internal part of the state where you can, summit these beautiful untouched glaciers that are sadly melting because of climate change. And now is the time to see it before those incredible landscapes become a little bit different.
And talk to me more about Yosemite, because that is one that definitely jumped out at me as I was reading through here, because I feel like of late, the past 5 or 10 years, all you hear are these sort of nightmare stories about traffic jams and people sort of crawling all over and trash and all of that. There's sort of a cool new way to do this.
So I can't tell you how many times I've been asked the question, I want to go to Yosemite, but where do I stay?
Yeah.
People ask all the time, and the answer has always been, I can't help you with that one because there's never been successful infrastructure development for quite obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But hoteliers have gotten a little bit creative and worked around the problem of permitting inside the park. And now there's options like AutoCamp, which is a collection of refurbished Airstreams that are now these very cool en-suite hotel rooms that stand alone just on the fringe of the park. And they allow you that early morning access because you're already there.
Right.
The traffic jams happen when people are staying far away. They need to take get in the car and drive a few hours and get into the park, and then everyone clusters midday.
Yeah.
If you stay in these new accommodations, you're already there in the morning and you can do those magical sunrises when no one's around.
Yeah, I have to say that was one of the pictures that really caught my attention. Is this Airstream? You got this little family sort of camped out here on the edge of the water. All right, so let's go back far flung because you've got Budapest, you've got Bangkok, which I did not know until I read your story. Bangkok, the most visited city?
4 years running.
Wow.
And Bangkok is typically associated with the backpacker culture.
Yeah.
It's a very affordable place. And honestly, even going to one of the world's 50 best restaurants in Bangkok won't run you more than $100 per person, which is crazy. But this year in Bangkok, we're seeing the real evolution of luxury. There's some really, really impressive developments. There's a multi-billion-dollar, multi-use complex on the riverfront that's home to some great new splashy hotels.
And so when you think about sort of mega trends around travel for 2020, sort of coming out of 2019 where consumers seem pretty flush, do you expect that to continue? How is sort of the travel industry overall feeling about 2020?
I think in pockets we're seeing a demand for kind of get there while it lasts, right? So these experiences that seem to have a countdown clock on them, whether that means places like Alaska where climate change is really a factor, places like Kyrgyzstan that just aren't on the tourism map just yet, and people want to see it while it feels authentic and it feels unvisited and it feels like a discovery to them. We've got places like the Ionian Islands. Again, it's just an alternative to the overcrowded, oversaturated. And so I think everyone is racing against the clock, whether it's against crowds or climate or whatever it might be, to get there while it's good.
Was there anything that ended up on the cutting room floor that you would tell people this might be a good one, but you won't necessarily read about? Bonus material here.
We were very excited about Santiago. And about different parts of Chile. And we were a little bit unsure about the political situation, and we kind of waited to see, how that would resolve itself. It could very well end up on next year's list, and we could very well recommend it later in the year in a different capacity when we feel sturdier about where their politics stand and just the safety for travelers. And then more often than not, we cut things because a big glitzy opening is delayed until the next year.
Right.
These types of, standard setting hotels and museums take time to build, so that affects our list. And I look forward to sharing a couple of those.
Well, that's great. Well, and I have to say, the good news, bad news is once this list is out, you start working on next year's list.
It's already underway.
All right, that's great. Nikki Eckstein, great to catch up with you, travel editor for Bloomberg Pursuits. Check out the story, the best 24 places to go in 2020, and the data. This is important on when to travel. That was a really, really important part of this that we didn't talk as much about, but you can check it out through the story. Check that out on the Bloomberg terminal or at Bloomberg.com. Well, that's going to wrap it up. First day of trading, the first real day of 2020. We're off to the races. It's going to be a great year. I'm Jason Kelly for Taylor Riggs out in San Francisco, the rest of our production team here in New York City. Have a great Thursday afternoon. Happy New Year, everyone. This is Bloomberg.
Tom Keene and Jonathan.
Welcome to Nuffield Health Fulham, a gym built around you. You get regular health MOTs to create a plan that works for you, with physios and personal trainers on site. You'll find a swimming pool, and our expert team will help you get the most out of your health, fitness, and your membership. Join today to get the rest of the month free. Search Nuffield Health. Specialists in you. 12-month commitments only. Facilities stated are in most gyms. Visit nuffieldhealth.com/terms.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen and favorite ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
We can't make traffic move faster during rush hour, but we can help you catch up on the news with TuneIn. With live around-the-clock news from MSNBC.
In the UK, they're significantly worse. When the president gets up to the podium...
CNBC and Fox News Talk.
The Fox News poll sizing up the race for 2020 found that each of the 5 top Democrats...
You can use your stop and go for good by staying in touch with the world. Search news to hear what's happening now. You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Along the goal line, Martin scores! He takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
You can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium.
Gonna move, hit a shot, he scores!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today. 4 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio. We have to get it right the first time.
We always talk about the losers in a trade war.
You benefit if you're just further away from China.
So that you can too.
What are the ramifications if she crumbles or doesn't crumble?
Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business, Radio.com, and iHeartRadio apps, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
From the Bloomberg Newsroom in New York, I'm Bob Moon. The U.S. is seeing a risk of more strikes against American interests in the Middle East by Iran or its proxy forces in the region. Defense Secretary Mark Esper told reporters 2 days after he sent hundreds of paratroopers to Kuwait as a backup force to protect the U.S. Embassy compound in Baghdad that this action is preemptive.
Not a show of force. It's a reinforcing capability that we can employ not just in Iraq, but throughout the region.
Esper says the U.S. has indications that more Iranian provocations may be in the offing. It turns out there are significant exceptions to a sweeping ban on vaping products previously promised by President Trump. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says the policy won't affect menthol or tobacco flavors and only applies to flavor pods popular with young users.
That means all flavored, cartridge-based e-cigarettes, except for tobacco and menthol. Youth overwhelmingly prefer cartridge-based e-cigarette products, and the 2 flavors that we are not prioritizing, tobacco and menthol, are much less likely to